You're listening to Defense IQ for Cyber Warfare 2011, taking place between January 27th to the 28th at the American Square Conference Centre in London. With over 160 attendees from 18 nations last year, the conference has become the leading annual European forum at which to discuss and analyse cyberspace developments and ensure that your nation is at the forefront of this evolution in war fighting. I'm your host, Richard De Silva. The following interview clips are from our recent discussions with two cyber warfare speakers. The first, John Bumgarner, Chief Technology Officer at the US Cyber Consequences Unit, and the second, Professor Peter Sommer, an information security legal expert at the London School of Economics. This all actually brings me to my next question, because I would like to hear your thoughts on the issues that are presented by cyber warfare on military peacekeeping missions. I mean, is there a NATO doctrine when it comes to potentially deploying ground forces to protect critical infrastructure such as power grids or transport networks or so on? And what are the points that would need to be considered when actually determining whether such response is both just and necessary?
That's a good question. From my knowledge, there is no doctrine currently today that authorizes NATO forces, UN forces, to deploy to a country to protect a power grid or protect a dam or to protect a hospital from aggression.
Right.
And in cyberspace, there is currently no doctrine within the United Nations, within NATO, within the U.S., within the United Kingdom, that would allow one of those organizations or one of those states to deploy military forces to a country or within their own countries to protect a critical infrastructure target in cyberspace. These things will have to be defined over the next coming years, if not over the next coming decades.
Okay, that is obviously very worrying from a civilian perspective such as ours. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you talked about peacekeeping operations. One thing that we haven't seen yet, and we will probably see in the future, depending on how doctrine shapes out, is currently today, the UN can deploy peacekeepers into a nation. For example, China currently today is deployed into Sudan to provide peacekeeping operations. But what if in the future a country wants peacekeepers, UN peacekeepers deployed to their nation to help them with some type of cyber event, some type of event like the one in Estonia, where Estonia was being knocked offline by unknown cyber attackers? What if Estonia would request that UN cyber peacekeepers be deployed to their region to help protect them? Under current doctrine, that doesn't exist. In future doctrine, that may exist.
Is it not true that with the evolving nature of cyber and the general indeterminate elements that the digital forensics often presents, as you were just mentioning there, does it not mean that actual proof of identification could always be disputed and therefore protection can never be rigorously enforced or indeed retaliation ever fully justified?
I think the key issue is that you can't really think in terms of retaliation, because even if you're going to be successful in identifying your source, it'll take quite a long time and not within the period during which the attack is taking place. So you really have to think in terms of resilience, and that divides into two. First of all, you it is possible to protect yourself against what I would call a low-level or medium-level attack when you, after a period, are able to identify the precise signature of the attack and then tell a piece of hardware and software what exactly to look for. Obviously, you've got to do that very precisely, because if you're not careful, you'll block a lot of legitimate traffic that you would like to receive. That technique is not going to work if it's a very large-scale attack. Any equipment that you put in is probably going to become overwhelmed, which is why you have to concentrate on having a contingency plan. Now, the contingency plan is almost certainly going to have several different elements. One of them is to have an alternate means of receiving the same sort of information that you want, or of delivering the same sort of service. You may not be able to do it at quite the level that you were able to do, but you can do enough, hopefully, in order to be able to give people confidence that you're still around. That's obviously an important element in it. It may well be that some of the resilience elements aren't in the computer domain at all. You might have to, say, if you are a bank or you are a government offering social services to its public and your resources are under attack, you may have to have enough in place to persuade them that you're still there, and that might mean offices of one sort or another. If we look, for example, at the Estonian attack, one reason why it was so effective was that Estonia had made a huge leap from being, forgive me for saying so, any Estonians who are listening, really rather sort of backward, into being very, very internet aware. And the trouble is there was no sort of backup. A similar type of attack would not have been successful against many more mature countries because paradoxically, they had still in place a lot of old-fashioned, non-internet connected facilities, a lot of bricks and mortar facilities which they were able to bring in play. So resilience is the key word, and retaliation is probably going to be really rather rare in the cyber warfare domain.
Cyber Warfare 2011 will take place between January 27th to the 28th at the American Square Conference Centre in London. Book your place today by visiting www.cyberwarfare-event.com, by calling 44207 368 9300, or by emailing enquire@defenseiq.com.